Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
Welcome everybody in the chat and to everybody that's going to be tuning in. Episode 38, the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. And this is also episode 38 of Daniel Has COVID. So Daniel has the big C, ladies and gentlemen. He has the big C. So if you hear him sound a little sick, you know why.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple days, y'all. It's been a rough couple days, but I think I'm over the hill and coming into better. I'm on the better side, I think. I think by, what are we, Tuesday? By Thursday, I should be 100%.
Yeah, so you know, he's working his way there, but yet here he is. He's grinding out, ladies and gentlemen. So we appreciate Daniel being here on the show, even though he is not 100% and probably feels like he could take a really fat nap right now. But so Daniel, thank you for being on here, man, even though you're not feeling good. So we all hope that sooner or later that this exit your whole entire system.
I hope so, man. It's it's got me, it got the wife. We're all physical therapy, man. I have a back injury that I sustained back when I was in law enforcement back in 2012, and I still, every now and then it'll act up, and I got to go to physical therapy. And a lot of people in there, man. And I left physical therapy, and I told my wife that day, I was like, "Yo, I think I'm coming down with something." And my wife's like, "Oh, no, you're not." And she takes a drink out of my drink, and I'm like, "I don't think you should have done that."
Well, it doesn't matter. We drink the same thing anyway, and then here she is. So
yeah, she here. She's
that's what happens when you don't like Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I told her, I was like, "You're a day behind me, so tomorrow you'll feel a lot better. You won't be 100, but you'll feel a lot better." Like compared to yesterday, man, I feel 1,000 times better.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. It's one day at a time, and hopefully these next coming days, man, you'll feel better and better, and then you'll be over it in the next 2-3 days.
Oh, I think so.
We hope so, man. You never know this crap, but yeah, guys. So we're gonna be doing Daniel and I are gonna be doing a 4-round kind of Steelers mock draft here, and really what it's going to consist of. I'm not going to pull anything up, because the way some of these mock draft simulators have it is if you kind of pick one team, it'll just be all over the place sometimes, and it just won't even be realistic, and some of the names that will probably be there aren't there, and you can't really do that. So him and I, he's got some stuff pulled up. I already know my predictions, but guys, you can let us know in the chat if you guys have a mock draft of your own, who you guys think the Steelers are going to take, because the draft is 16 days away. It's April 27th. So it's really hitting draft season, guys. So we want to do a little episode about it. And we're going to go about a half hour, 45 minutes around here, depending what we all get into and everything with you guys. So Daniel and I, we're going to kind of go through their first four rounds and do that. We're not going to do the whole 7 round. We're not going to do going through each team or anything like that. If you are interested in going team by team on my other channel, Who Are These Guys, with my friend Zach, we did our own first round mock draft. So if you guys are interested in that, but Daniel and I are doing this mock draft. At least I am. Now, Daniel, I don't know if you want to do it the same way as me, but I'm just doing it in the sense of the current Steelers picks. I'm not doing this making predictions, what spot they're going to trade up to or trade down. This is just their current positions.
Sounds good, man.
So that's how I'm doing it. If you want to do it, if you want to make predictions, them trading up, you can do that. I like to just kind of keep it safe and just do it until further notice.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So I was going through, now I've made my own mock draft, like I've said, and I'm not doing this Steelers mock draft just because of, I'm not picking guys that I want. I'm going off of what I think will happen, who I have going where, and who might fall to the Steelers in their spot. And also what would make sense guys they've talked with, guys that they would be interested in most likely. Really piling that together. So this isn't like a wish list mock draft or anything. This is a realistic mock draft. So I've been on the corner, or not the corner, but more so the fence on. We know the Steelers have met with a handful of tackles. We know they've met with some of the corners. And it seems like those two positions are positions that a lot of college football guys, mock draft guys, draft gurus link the Steelers to, is cornerback and tackle. And when you look at the state of the team in terms of their first round pick, it seems like cornerback or tackle is most likely going to be the pick. Because when you look at everything else, there's not going to be a linebacker that goes in the first round. It's not happening. They don't need to take an edge rusher. That's not going to happen either. Right? Defensive line, I don't really see that at 17 in their spot. I don't really see that for them. I see that later in the draft, just maybe not with their 17th pick. Wide receiver, not in the first round. So it really comes down to the offensive line. Cornerback you could look at, or even just defensive back in general, possibly. But when I was looking through it, okay, I had the cornerbacks I had off the board. I had Christian Gonzalez going 7 to the Raiders. And I had Devin Witherspoon going the pick right before the Steelers. So when it comes to offensive linemen, I had Paris Johnson going number 9 to the Chicago Bears. And I had Broderick Jones going number 13 to the New York Jets. So that leaves on the board for the Steelers at 17. You have Darnell Wright, the tackle out of Tennessee. You have DeJuan Jones, the tackle out of Ohio State. Anton Harrison, the tackle out of Oklahoma. You have Joey Porter on the board. You have Cam Smith on the board at corner from Carolina. And you also have Kele Ringo, who's a guy they've been talking to as well out of Georgia. So those are all guys that are still on the board for them. And Deonte Banks out of Maryland as well, who's been a guy that's been mocked to them. So when I'm going through all this and I'm looking at, okay, when we look at pick 17 and I'm looking at the other tackles on the board, at least in terms of my mock draft, I don't really see them taking one of those guys at 17. I think it's possible you can get them a little later on. Or if they would even want to trade back, they could do that and have the 32nd pick and have another pick later in the first round. But again, I'm doing this based off of where they currently sit. So I am having them pick Joey Porter at pick 17. Not because I like Joey Porter. I'm not even a Penn State fan or anything like that. I think when I look at, in terms of value, when I look at if they're sitting there at 17 and I look at really who could they get at 17 that they could not get at 32, I think Joey Porter's a guy that they could look at. Okay, we can get a corner. We can get a guy that can come in and probably play right away or close to right away at 17. And then we can go get our tackle at 32 because there's still 3 or 4 tackles there on the board that are going to go toward the late first round. And that will be there available for them at 32. So I'm going with Joey Porter at pick 17 based off of my mock draft. Now, it could happen where he gets selected earlier. I think Mel Kiper just had in his, he has Joey Porter going to the Commanders at pick 16. So he could even go earlier. He could even be there and the Steelers don't take him, which wouldn't surprise me either. But that's who I'm going with. Daniel, who's somebody that you think could really be in play at 17 for them?
So for me, I like the Joey Porter Jr. aspect. I like the family tree, the legacy, everything that comes around with that pick, right? Yeah. But I don't like the non-splash, right? He's got one interception his entire collegiate career. Now, when you look at Terrell Edmonds, for instance, he's a guy that lacks splash. He's a guy that's no longer on the Steelers. Yeah. And so he was replaced by somebody like Deontay Casey, who was able to get his hands on the ball and cause turnovers. And so I think the Steelers want that splash. I mean, you look at certain games last season, Miami being one of them, where Mike Tomlin came out after the game and said, had the Steelers brought in one of those interceptions that they had 4 of them in their hands that ended up hitting the ground, the Steelers probably win that game. And so, in my opinion, I think they're going to want some splash. They're going to want somebody who's going to, be around the ball a little bit more. And so for me, I'm not necessarily sold on Joey Porter Jr. I would
Mhm.
probably think that he's probably the best cornerback that might be available at the time at 17. I do think that the Steelers are probably going to go defense heavy in this draft, just because if you look at the past drafts that have come
Yeah.
before, quarterback, receivers, tight end, running back, those were all offense heavy up front in the first few rounds.
Yeah.
I think this time it's time to go the opposite direction. Now, the guy that I'm thinking that the Steelers might get, this isn't a guy that I necessarily want. I don't really know much about him, and he only had one interception in 2022 also, is a guy by the name of Deonte Banks out of Maryland. The reason why I like Deonte Banks out of Maryland for the Pittsburgh Steelers is there's that connection to Mike Tomlin. He's familiar with him, and Deonte Banks is among 3 of the cornerbacks to visit the Steelers. And so he's done a pre-draft visit. He's about 6 foot, 197 pounds, so he's a bigger guy. He had 8 pass breakups, 1 interception, 38 tackles, and only 12 games in 2022.
Yeah.
And so he rebounded. I guess he was limited. He only played 2 games because of an ankle injury in 2021. But he's a fast guy. He ran the 40-yard dash in a 4.35, 42-inch vertical. So you got a guy like, for instance, Patrick Peterson, who when he came out ran a 4.3 in the 40. He was a guy that was physically a physical freak, and so or athletic freak. And what better way to put him or pair him up with somebody who had similar attributes coming out, like a Patrick Peterson, that can kind of put him under his wing, teach him the things that what to expect, what not to expect. I mean, there's not very many people that can fly down the field at 4.3 seconds in a 40.
No.
And so,
Holy cow.
Peterson can, and he knows what it's like, and he knows, how to use those attributes towards his benefit. And so for me, I'm going to go ahead and go with Deonte Banks at 17.
Yeah, no, you're not the only person, Deonte Banks. I've seen multiple draft analysts have Deonte Banks there. I actually put Deonte Banks going the pick after the Steelers to the Lions. Yeah, because they just traded Jeff Okudah. I know they signed the guy from the Niners and Cam Sutton, but you can't ever have enough corners. And the Lions are really what they've been building to is kind of starting to come around the corner. So that's why I had him going there. But yeah, I've seen Deonte Banks there. I don't know quite a lot about him, but hey, if he's someone that they think that he can be ready to play sooner than later, and you got a guy in Patrick Peterson as well that he can also kind of be behind along the way, I'm for it. Absolutely. So I'm not picking I don't want Joey Porter just because it's Joey Porter.
Right.
I like his length. He's good length. He's an athletic guy to himself. I think he's good. He's good with his hands, but yeah, the lack of splash is there. Or the lack of splash is there. And that might be something that maybe they go in a different direction, as we saw with Terrell Edmonds. But we'll see. But I think just kind of how I had the draft board go, that's why I had Joey Porter land there with them.
Now, this is the pick if tackles are gone, like the top 3, prospects as far as tackles are gone, because let's look at last season. The Steelers were number 1 when it comes to interceptions. Now they lost a couple of pieces, but they've brought back some. You have Diamante Casey, you have Patrick Peterson replacing Cam Sutton. So I think that's a pretty fair off trade, in my opinion, as far as what you expect as far as production goes.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
You're looking at a defense that had a lot of turnovers already, especially when it came to the picks. Now, when you look at the offensive side, the running game started to turn around at the end. The passing game started to have its flashes, but in my opinion, Kenny Pickett was pressured quite a bit. If it wasn't for his ability to be mobile in the pocket, then I think he probably would have gotten sacked significantly more than what he ended up doing. And if you go back and look at even the games with Mitch Trubisky, he did some pretty crazy stuff with his feet too.
Yeah,
and so you're looking at the 2 aspects, like what's more important here. And you have a defense that lost a big piece in Cam Sutton, replaced it with a big piece in Patrick Peterson in a heavy corner draft. I mean, like you mentioned before, I think like a Ringo will be there. At 32, I think they still have some options there, and he's just as quick as Deonte Banks. The one thing is, though, they didn't bring him in for a pre-draft visit, not yet at least. And so they've gone to his pro day and checked him out, talked to him at the combine, things like that, but not quite yet. But if those guys are gone, and also I have another reason why, I think the guy that they want to tackle will be available later on. But yeah, those guys are gone. I think this could be the pick. Deontay Banks.
Absolutely. And like that's why I don't understand the wide receiver at 17 narrative. Why do you need to take a wide receiver at 17? And honestly, this is not really that great of a wide receiver class. It's really not. And like there was a report today that there's a lot of NFL teams that are down on this wide receiver class. So like you might only have one wide receiver go in the first round.
Yeah.
You could.
No, you're right.
Maybe two. But really, this isn't a class to take a wide receiver at pick 17, dude. There's so much more talent on the board at 17 than Jordan Addison. Give me a break.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
everybody sees I think they see the success of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and think that
that's it. But like you look at Jamar Chase, he was a top 5 pick though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely was. He definitely was. He had a lot of the attributes and there was no question there. There's a little bit of question when it comes to Jordan Addison. He had a little bit of a down year. It makes you wonder, was his success in Pitt because of Kenny Pickett?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
The quarterback is who elevates the play around him. And so, I mean, he had a Heisman Trophy winner in USC as a quarterback. So it's not like it was that big of a drop-off or at all. Perhaps slightly even of a better situation.
Yeah, he had Caleb Williams last year.
Exactly. So he might, and the pieces around him might have been a little bit better as well than what they were in Pitt. And so, with that being said, he didn't stand out in that division or amongst
not
amongst higher talent.
Hey, if Addison's there somewhere in the second round, and if the Steelers want to pull the trigger, maybe with their second round pick, okay, whatever. But he's not, and that's not saying that I don't think or he can't be a good NFL player. He can definitely, really anybody come in the league has the opportunity to to make a name for themselves. Absolutely. Yeah. But at 17 though, when all the other talent on the board, and you're going to take Jordan Addison at 17, no, doesn't make any sense. So, sorry to the Steeler fans that want Jordan Addison. We're not on board with it. I think that's wishful thinking for you guys. But let's go to pick 32. Now, we know the Steelers fleeced Chicago with this pick. Unbelievable to even think we could even get really a first-round pick on a normal year. But we know the Dolphins had to forfeit this pick because they're a bunch of losers who wanted to just tank and pretty much cheat the system, blah, blah, blah. But pick 32, they got for Chase Claypool. We all know this. Now, this is where I think they go tackle. Right here. Because you're going to have, if they stay at 17, you're going to have Paris Johnson, and Broderick Jones most likely off the board before pick 17. So those are 2. Now, the other tackles are DeJuan Jones, the other tackle out of Ohio State, Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, and Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma. Now, they brought in Anton Harrison. They brought him in. They went out to dinner with DeJuan Jones and Paris Johnson. I'm not quite sure about Darnell Wright, but those are 3 tackles that can definitely make their way toward the end of the first round. Yeah. So I have them taking Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma at pick 32. He played left tackle at Oklahoma. He does have a little bit of he can definitely be a little bit more athletic as a left tackle, but he really holds his own. He's strong. He can definitely freaking maul you, dude. And I think the Steelers, I could see them liking him a lot. He's got good intangibles for a tackle. He can move his feet. He's somebody that you could honestly really, after Jones and Johnson, you can probably really shift any of those 3 around in terms of who you like better than the other.
Right.
Really, all 3 of those are guys. Like I've seen people put Darnell Wright at pick 17. I've seen people have all 5 of those tackles go in the first round. But I think Anton Harrison makes it here at 32. Not just that it fills a need, but it's an upgrade over Dan Moore. Absolutely, it is. He's a guy that can be ready to play week 1. And I like his size. I like what he does with his feet. Sure. Could he get a little bit quicker? Sure. He probably could, but I like what he does with his feet. I think that he's a guy that they really need in that position in terms of being a mauler. He doesn't give up pressures. At least in college, he didn't, So I like him at pick 32.
Nice, nice. I'm also going tackle at 32, but I'm going with DeJuan Jones, or Johnson. I'm sorry, out of Ohio, right?
Yeah,
Big guy, huge guy.
yeah,
He's
yeah. He's a
let me see,
freaking tank.
dude. Yeah, and that's the thing about the Steelers, right? You look at the guys that they got. Herbig, they picked up Isaac Seyomalu. These are guys that are bigger. These are larger
Yeah,
guys. This
yeah.
is DeJuan Jones. I'm sorry. These are the guys who, in my opinion, you also look at the Eagles and the way they built up their front end. There's a lot of beef there. There's a lot of meat, and so I think the Steelers are going to try to transition into that. I think that they've been burned a little bit by having the smaller athletic interior or smaller athletic offensive lineman here in most recent years. And I think they're going to go heavy. They're going to go big. They want to get some big guys. Now, I don't think that DeJuan Jones is necessarily a left tackle. I think that he's probably more suited out on the right and allow Chooks and Dan Moore to battle it out on the left. With the offensive tackles that are left on the board, I don't think you have one that's going to be able to beat out Dan Moore on the left side, because you have Dan Moore going into his third year, right? It's not Dan Moore last year or Dan Moore rookie year. It's third year Dan Moore, 2 seasons under his belt, another offseason under his belt to learn and to adjust. Ramon Foster was talking about this on his show not too long ago, where he said that it took him like 3 or 4 years to finally feel comfortable in the position that he was in. And so with the offensive line, it might be that type of situation. He's a 4th round pick. What's going to be raw. Nobody should have expected him to come in but there's been some flashes when it comes to him. And, if he can continue to go in that upward trajectory, maybe perhaps he's a guy. But, on the opposite side, Chooks Okorafor, he's been all right, but, he's already on the second contract. You know what he is. You know what he's going to be. I was looking at PFF a couple days ago, and they were talking about how often the Steelers leave their tackle, everybody in the NFL, how often they leave their tackles alone on an island. And then there was another chart that had how often those tackles, their success rate when left on an island. And the Steelers protected their tackles more than almost every team except the Dolphins and the Raiders. They either had double teams or an extra tackle put in there or a tight end to help. And then when they did put their tackles on an island, Dan Moore and Chooks Okorafor were in the middle of the pack, but towards the bottom of the middle of the pack. They weren't below average. They were just slightly sub-average than everybody else.
Yeah.
And more so Chooks Okorafor over Dan Moore. Dan Moore had a higher success rate and was left on an island a little bit more than Chooks. Not tremendously more, but a little bit more. He's just slightly better. And so you can kind of see that there's a possibility there for Dan Moore to have some upside there. So getting a DeJuan Jones on the right side, at 32, that's a guy you don't necessarily need to start right away.
Yeah.
You can have him be a swing guy. You can have him come in and work. And, if somebody goes down with an injury, which last season all these guys played most of the games, the likelihood of that happening again is probably slim to none. So
right.
You're preparing for that. And so I think it's his size, 6'8", 374, 36 and 3/8 arms. I mean, I think his best was, I guess, pass blocking. And so, Steelers they didn't do so well in the pass blocking situation last season. And so I think that this guy could be a guy. So I'm going to pick DeJuan Jones here from Ohio State.
Okay. Yeah. And hey, that's, if that's their pick of 32, that's a freaking home run as well. There really is. He's a guy. He's a freaking monster. He's someone they like a lot. So 32 definitely seems like, unless somebody drops, 32 seems like the hot spot for a tackle for them to take.
I agree 100%.
So how do you feel before we go on to the next pick? How do you feel about their current state of the offensive line?
I don't think it's as oppressive need as many are looking at it. I think that the offensive line started to do some things last year together. It comes down to health and being able to play the entire season. Like I said, last year they were able to play the whole season. The likelihood of that happening again is very slim.
Yeah.
Now, for me, if they don't get a tackle, let's just say they go somewhere else and it just doesn't happen to fall in the cards, I don't think that's an end all move or or that's it, the season's over, tank for next year and get a tackle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's not one of those type of situations. I think that they have some okay tackles right now. Could they get better? I think they could, and I think they're going to try to. But if I had to go into week 1 of the season with Sayamalu, James Daniels, Cole, Dan Moore, and Chicks-Okorafor, I think I'd be okay with that. What about you?
Yeah. I definitely, it wouldn't be something of like where I would be really cautious or scared about their offensive line. I think it'd be like, okay, I think that I think it's better than what they opened up with last year. Like, I like their interior a lot with Samalu and James Daniels. I think Mason Cole's a guy that is fine to have there again till you kind of figure out your future at that position. I'd want to tackle at 17 or 32, but if let's say they don't go that direction, like you said, I would still be okay. Like, I would still, as long as we were seeing some good things out of them in the offseason and even in a preseason, I'd be like, okay, let's just kind of see really how they do as the season goes on. But I feel like, dude, with the amount of times that they spent with tackles throughout this pre-draft process, it's hard for me to think that they won't take one with one of their first 2 picks.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100%.
Jared Devil asked, does Jack Campbell make it to 49? Yeah, I think he could. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about him. I've heard some good and bad. I don't really think that he's a guy that he's like a can't miss type guy, though. I think that if they decide to go a different direction, like, it is what it is. But if some people might like him more than me, or maybe dislike him more than me, I don't really quite have an opinion on him. But hey, if they like him and if they think that he can bring some good things to the room and stuff like that, then absolutely. So we'll have to see. Now, pick 49, round 2, pick 49. I think this is a spot they could go in a couple different directions, as Jared Devil brought up. Could they go inside linebacker here, depending who's there? Could they go wide receiver? Could they go defensive line? At pick 49, I was kind of like back and forth on this, especially because, like, okay, like, where do I see like these guys going? Where's their value at and everything? I think that when it comes to even defensive tackle at 49, when we're kind of looking at whether it's needs, whether if it's who's worth taking their value pick, anything like that. I like a couple of the defensive linemen that are there. I like that Keanu Benton guy, who don't really know too much about him, but I know that he's someone that's been mocked to him. So just really out of the sake of that, he's a guy that can be a plug-in and play guy right away if they decide to draft him. Or even Siaki Ika, the guy out of Baylor, who's a defensive lineman. That's who I'm going with. They've met with him, I believe. He's kind of a monster. And hey, if he's a guy that they think that they can come in and plug him with Ogunjobi, Cam, and put him in that rotation, I'm all for it at pick 49. So that's my pick. That's what I'm going with. I think they go defensive line.
Yeah, I was gonna go that direction as well. I was thinking about that. However, and I was thinking about even going with Keanu Benton. Mm-hmm. However, the Steelers kind of address that situation, which doesn't mean that they don't go after it, right? They signed Armin Watts, right? Yeah. Now, what they haven't done is extend Alex Highsmith. What they haven't done is brought in a third outside edge. I think we have Quincy Roche right now, Jameer Jones. Yeah. And so I'm not sure if this guy's going to be there, but if he is, I can see the Steelers going after USC's Tuli Tuipulotu, something like that, man. Yeah. I apologize. I'm butchering this dude's name, but yeah, Tuli Tuipulotu. And the reason being is, this guy, he's 6'3", so he's just an inch shorter than what you want, right? 6'3", arm length is at 32 1/4. But he had a lot of production, and that's one thing that you notice about the Steelers is they like production. It's worked out great for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's also bit him in the ass when you look at like Jarvis Jones, for instance. And so Jarvis Jones was like a sack leader back then too. So going this direction, they need somebody there for that outside linebacker position. They need another edge. Even if they were to extend Alex Highsmith, you look at the drop off after Highsmith, right? TJ Watt takes off about 25 to 28% of the snaps. Alex Highsmith takes off probably about a little bit less than that when completely healthy, obviously. So that's still a lot of snaps on the field that when, especially if there's times where you have both Watt and Highsmith out and you had Jameer Jones and right now only Quincy Roche, I think that's going to be a problem. And so I think this guy gives you the option to see what he has and a possibility if you can't work out something with Alex Highsmith this offseason or next, that you don't have to, dig in and you got an idea of what you got in this guy and you have a year of development. And so I'm going with this guy, not to mention he has family ties. His brother is an Eagles lineman. So Eagles lineman, Andy Weidl was an Eagles.
Yeah,
so
you got some
familiar with
there.
this player. Yeah, there's some ties there. There's brothers in the NFL with the Eagles with Andy Weidl. So he might know Andy Weidl a lot better than we anticipate. I'm going with Thule. That's my pick right here.
So that's really not a bad idea. If there's a certain edge rusher they like come round 2, that's not a bad idea. So we both have corner. We both have a tackle at 32. 49, we have them both going back to defense, where I had a defensive lineman and you had an edge rusher. Nobody knows what's going on with Bud Dupree. Nobody knows if there's anybody that they're going to add. So with that being said, at 49, if there's a certain edge rusher that they like, it's really not a bad idea. It's really not, honestly. Let me see here. So now they have, I believe all their picks are round 1, 2 in the second, 3rd, 4th, and 2 7th round picks.
Right.
I believe so. So with the 3rd round pick is the 80th pick in the draft. And I wasn't really quite sure what direction to go here, but I'm going to pick them to take a wide receiver here because I don't really see them doing anything on the market the rest of the offseason, bringing a receiver in. I said that you could bring in a veteran guy to add a little bit to that room, a guy that doesn't need the ball a lot, a guy that can do some of the little things. I think that would be great. But also, you got to keep in mind some injuries as well. We have no idea what Calvin Austin's going to be. So I'm having them go. I'm going to have them take Jonathan Mingo. He's a wide receiver, a guy that can play in the slot. And I think at round 3, pick 80, I feel like he's a guy that can be a play there. Now, there's a couple other wide receivers that if somebody wants to be nitpicky or say, oh, there's a couple other guys here, Parker Washington out of Penn State or this guy, that guy. Okay, fine. Like, I'm not going to, argue. I'm not saying that Jonathan Mingo has to be the pick here at wide receiver at pick 80. But I think when it kind of comes to, okay, Johnson Pickens are your 2, Calvin Austin's in there. We don't really quite know how they want to use him. We don't quite know his health. So you have him, you have Anthony Miller there. Could they still look on the market? Sure, absolutely they could. I think I'll roll with a wide receiver though at pick 80. I'll go with the Mingo guy. I think just because I like some of his intangibles, some of the stuff he did at the combine, and I think that he helped fits that wide receiver room a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that was kind of the direction that I was thinking as well. But to be different, let's see. Let's see if they were to go with what is the biggest need right now, in your opinion?
So come round 3, let's see. So we covered they got a tackle. I don't see them double dipping that. Corner, we both said corner. I don't see them doing that in round 3. Could you maybe be a defensive lineman since you went edge rusher? Could be that.
That's true.
So if there's a defensive lineman there come round 3, since you went with the edge rusher, that could be in play. For me, since you went with edge, maybe there's an edge rusher round 3. Maybe there's a linebacker in round 3. Jared Devil says center. Yeah, hey, if there's a center that they like in round 3, I mean, that's something that they could do. I think they just like Mason Cole though, and they have some depth options. So I don't really view center as a position that I would prefer. But hey, that's there's a couple guys they've met with that are centers. So.
All right, so I'm going to go different. I'm going to go with safety Jordan Battle out of Alabama.
Jordan Battle
Battle out of Alabama.
So
safety.
adding to the safety group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
22 years old, 6'1", 209 pounds. He's not the biggest guy, but he's not small either. You know, he's solid. He's not a special athlete. He's more of the strong safety I think that the Steelers need to get.
He can fit in there.
Yeah, and so I think that, you know, the Steelers need to get somebody to pair up still with Minka. I think that DeMonte Casey is a guy that that's that ball hawking type of dude. But I think that the Steelers.
Yeah, he's not playing Edmonds' position. No way.
No, not at all. And so I'm gonna go with Jordan Battle, strong safety out of Alabama.
It's not a bad pick, man. Jared Devil says I'm thinking for depth and post Mason Cole. I expect Green to be cut. So it's just like. I understand your thinking, man. I do. I think just when they brought in a couple other, like Herbig's a guy that's played there before. They brought in a couple other guys too. I don't know. I think just really come the third round, it might just really depend who's fallen, who's on the board. Really, they could always go best player available there. I know a spot that needs filling.
You know what? I want to change my pick.
Okay, you're gonna change your pick.
I'm changing my pick from Battle to Trenton Simpson. Out of Clemson.
Trenton Simpson, the linebacker out of Clemson.
Linebacker. Yeah, that's who I'm going with. Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson. He's a fast guy, 4'3", 6'2", 235. He's a guy that can fill in for what Terrell Edmonds wanted to do, what they wanted to do with Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah.
They wanted him in the box. They wanted him to help with run support and be that dominant guy. I can see the Steelers going with Trent Simpson at right here and putting him there to
I'm pretty sure they met with him too.
I think so. So I'm gonna go look at that real quick.
Well, pick 80. If he's a pick that's there, I wouldn't be mad about that. Not at all. But yeah, Jared Devil. Who knows? Who knows how the board's gonna play out, man? I know that they've met with one or two centers. So they could always go that direction. It's possible if they decide to double dip on the offensive line through their first 4 draft picks, the 2 in round 2, round 1, and then your 3rd round. So if they decide to do that in the 3rd round with their 4th pick, you know, hey, if there's someone they like, I'm not going to be somebody that I'm not going to necessarily complain about that. It kind of depends how the board plays out, but I just like some other guys, some other spots better. But hey, it is what it is, brother. It is what it is. So we'll kind of see how they go on that. So Daniel's going Trent Simpson round 3. So our last pick in this 4-round mock draft, we have pick round 4. I believe it's I don't know, is it pick 114? It's something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I'm gonna have them take a safety, Jair Brown out of Penn State. Now I don't quite know how they would like to play him, but I think in the sense of them bringing in Keanu Neal. And him, I don't think that he would be a guy that they would play right away this season. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think he's somebody that they could look at a little bit more longer term. You're going to have a guy in Keanu Neal there, Kazi, Minka, depending how Trey Norwood does. They could always as well bring another body in over the summer. They could always take another one later in the draft, but I kind of view this more so as a pick of a guy that's not ultimately going to provide a lot this season. So I'm going with Jair Brown, Penn State safety from this past season in my 4th round pick. So we had Joey Porter Jr., round 1. We had Anton Harrison left tackle out of Oklahoma, pick 32. The other second round pick, I had Siaki Ika out of Baylor, defensive lineman. Round 3, I had Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver. And this pick to round up our 4-round mock draft, I said Jair Brown, safety out of Penn State. So, Steeler Girl, hello. Appreciate you tuning in.
Nice. So that's a solid draft so far, man.
It is. You know? So I like that. Now, am I can be wrong on all these? Most likely.
Yeah, I mean, if you slammed every single one of them,
holy cow,
you need to go
some type of freaking some type of royalties or something.
You need one of those Twitter signs that says you're clairvoyant or something.
Get me in the scouting department, man.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right, Daniel, your last pick there.
Up to this point, I've gone. Let's see, I went Deontay Banks, cornerback out of Maryland, and then I went Dwan Jones, tackle out of Ohio. I went Thule, who is the edge rusher out of USC, right. And then right now I went Simpson, middle linebacker / possible safety. For the 4th round, I'm going with receiver. That's a pick that I haven't gone yet, and I'm going with Oklahoma's Marvin Mims. Smaller guy, probably be a slot dude, maybe a punt returner as well. He's 21 years old, so he's younger. 5'11", 183, ran the 40 in a 4.38. So he's pretty quick. You know, he's got the speed. You know, last season he had more than 1,000 yards and averaged 19.5 yards per catch in his career. And so, you know, I think this guy might be a guy that they can play in the slot. He's got the quickness, the speed there. And if things don't work out with Calvin Austin because of his size, you know, his size is kind of, you know, he's not. Calvin Austin's a very small guy. And so maybe perhaps this guy being a little bit larger body, not tremendously larger, but a little bit larger, might be able to take those impacts a little bit better.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad pick either. If they go wide receiver round 4, hey, there you go, man. There you go. You bring somebody in to compete, to battle out, maybe for a spot in the rotation. So definitely provides a spot in that lineup that they would definitely need. So either way, hey, if they went with my draft, they went with your draft, I honestly think it'd be a home run draft, be quite honest with you.
I think so too, man. I think there's I wouldn't be surprised if there's a combination of those players that we selected today end up in the
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. Steeler fan, if you had a mock draft, I think everybody would be vomiting, to be honest with you.
It would be quarterback 1st round, quarterback
2nd round, quarterback 3rd round. Unbelievable. What's like knowing that you are in the official 0.1% of Steeler fans out there. So
yeah,
hopefully you feel proud about that.
Do you think the Steelers will draft a quarterback in this draft?
I could see like the 7th round, like maybe like UCLA's quarterback or something. Like he's a guy that's pretty mobile, something like that. I can maybe see that. Other than that, I don't really see. I don't really see them taking one like other than the 7th round.
Yeah, I don't see it either, unless they go with like maybe that what's his name, Hooker, was it Tennessee? If they go with him somewhere like in the 4th or 5th round because of his knee injuries and something like that, I can see that happening, and then perhaps maybe preparing for life without Mitch Trubisky as number 2.
Yeah, that's always an option too. You'll know if they take a quarterback in the 7th round, there's gonna be a ton of trolls out there.
Oh yeah. Or in the 6th round, they'll be like, "This is the next."
Yeah, or the 6th round, or whatever it is. So, I'm pretty pleased with our mock drafts, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section about what you think about. Let me know what you guys think about our picks in the comment section. Y'all never gave Mason the chance. Well, we're not the coaches, so I don't know what you want us to do about that. But
I gave Mason a chance.
Yeah, we gave him a chance. The thing is, he tied the Lions, and they were on the 5-yard line. I was at that game, and he threw the ball in the grass. So I don't know what you want me to do.
So how did you feel after that game, knowing that they tied?
Oh, dude, it was a waste of time. It was just a waste of time.
And it was raining.
Dude, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was a waste of everybody's time. I already have my ticket spot. Ben goes on the COVID list. I'm like, here we go. We got to go to this game, and we're probably either going to win by the thick of our neck, or we're going to lose. And they tied. So yeah, it was a waste of time. It really was. Now with what was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you one more thing before we ended it here. Oh yeah, how do you feel about them trading up or trading down this draft? Do you think that they're going to stay put, or do you think that they're going to make a trade in the 1st round?
I don't know, man. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to move in the first couple rounds. Maybe in the second, but maybe not. I'm not sure. And if they do, I think it's going back. I don't see them moving up. There's so many holes right now that still need to be fixed. Depth pieces, starters, future pieces that need to be filled. That if you were to, like, let's just say, forfeit that 32 pick, and let's do it the way the Steelers do it for a Christian Gonzalez, which I doubt you're going to get up high enough to do.
Dude,
so.
you're gonna give up a crap load if you're moving up to pick 7 or 8 or something. Holy cow.
Yeah, you're going to give up so much that you're also losing Dwan Jones. You're losing everybody behind.
You're losing opportunity elsewhere.
And the future one. So that's probably going to cost you another first rounder. And so, if they're going to move up, perhaps maybe if one of the cornerbacks or two of the cornerbacks fall a little bit, maybe I can see them move up 3 or 4 slots. But the value, like right now, the value of the draft picks they're so valuable. Like you look at what like a first round in the top 10 is usually costing. It's costing like 3 first rounders right now. And so the value there is just, you never want to buy when the value is high. You want to buy when it's low, right? And so
I agree.
And I think the Steelers have done that. They bought running back when the value was low with Najee Harris. They brought quarterback when the value was low with Kenny Pickett.
Right.
And even with Pat Freiermuth, I think they got a pretty good value at him in the second. And so George Pickens, another guy, great value. So I think the Steelers
he would have been a first round pick, dude, if he wasn't injured.
Exactly. And so and I guarantee you, if that draft was redone, he might be a top 15 pick pretty easily.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? And so the Steelers like to get those, their value out of their draft picks and build this team through the draft. Is it possible? Yeah. You got a team that's very veteran on the defensive side. So if you gave up a little bit to get a young player there, that can make sense. But the offensive side, the offensive line is where it needs the help. And you really don't want to give up an offensive tackle for a cornerback right now, in my opinion. So for me, I think if anything, they might move back, but I don't see it happening until the second round.
Yeah,
I think
I could see them like maybe wanting some picks for like that 5th round, maybe, because they don't have any in the 5th or the 6th round. So I can maybe see them like maybe making a trade back to maybe acquire an extra pick or something. Steeler Girl, so it has been reported that they have been in talks with the Bears to trade up for 9. Don't really quite know how serious that is, and like Jared Devil says, rumors are just rumors, but it has been kind of speculated. So maybe if they do that, I could definitely see Paris Johnson. Absolutely. What'd you say?
Maybe the Bears will be like, we'll give you number 9 if you take Chase back. Imagine he comes back. Right. He's like, we'll give you number 9, but we want 17-32, and we want you to take Chase Claypool.
Jacob, oh God, dude. Freaking Bears, man.
That would be hilarious. But
I wonder how much they regret that trade.
Oh, probably quite a bit. I mean, they probably thinking to themselves, we should have just let the Packers take him.
They really should have.
But let's just say that happens, right? And you have Paris Johnson, a tackle on the board. You have Joy Porter. You have Deontay Banks. You have Jalen Carter. Are you scrapping what your plan was going into it for somebody like a Jalen Carter who you were not expecting to be anywhere near there?
Yeah, that's tough. I know that there's some draft analysts that think that he's the best all-around football player in this draft.
Right.
And he's had some crap going on, which, I mean, hey, dude, like that stuff definitely plays a toll on you mentally. But if he can kind of get out of that, then, like, dude, sky's the limit for a guy like that. Like, he's very, very talented. So, let's say for whatever reason he just falls drastically. I could see that if they're comfortable with his play and if they're comfortable with where he is and stuff like that, I could see it.
I can too. I think the Steelers made a mistake when they let Javon Hargrave go, and I think that Jalen Carter is a talent that surpasses Javon Hargrave, and so maybe not year one. Javon Hargrave has been a professional for a while and has earned the bag that he's got. Mm-hmm. But you saw the flashes early on in Javon Hargrave's career. I think that Jalen Carter's more ready. He's not as raw, so he's going to come in here when those flashes should be more prominent than what you saw out of Javon Hargrave. And so I think if this is true, right? Let's just say it's true, and they're able to move up to 9, and Jalen Carter's there, I'd scrap my plan for him. I would scrap the cornerback.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Patrick P for a year, 2 years, so you can address that next year.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't really know how teams view him. It's like a really weird situation. I don't think he's going to drop too far just because the talent is there. Like I had him going to 6, like in my first mock draft I did to the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I really don't know. He's like in a really weird situation.
Well, I mean, if quarterbacks end up going in the top 10, let's just say 4 end up going in the top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that's leaving six options there. Let's take a gander at who the top 10 prospects are real quick.
Thank you, Steeler fan. Yes, guys, hit that like and subscribe for both of us. Daniel's channel is in the link below.
Thank you. So Will Anderson, he's probably going to be a top 10. The quarterbacks that are going to be a top 10 are probably going to be Bryce Young, Stroud. You think Richardson will go in the top 10?
Yeah, I definitely do, just because of his high-end potential that's there. Yeah.
I agree. And so then you have Will Levis. Do you think he'll go on the top?
I actually have him going 11 to the Titans, but I could see the Titans trade him up to take him.
I heard there's been rumors that the Colts were interested in him too.
Yeah, they've been linked too. Man, tough times for the Malik Willis crowd, man. Holy cow, Titans are ready to freaking get rid of him.
Yeah, no, for sure. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Devon Witherspoon, you think he'll be in the top 10?
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
Really? Cornerback Devon Witherspoon. I thought he would be.
I think Christian Gonzalez will be.
Christian Gonzalez. Yeah, there you go. I got those two guys confused.
Yeah,
so you think Christian will be out there?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Let's see.
Paris Johnson, I think, will be.
You think Paris Johnson will be there too? All right. What about I'm looking through this list here. I'm trying to see. I think that might be the only ones that I would say are guaranteed top 10.
Yeah, that you can just kind of lock in there.
Yeah. And so that's what, like 7, 8?
Yeah. So you add into the teams taking the quarterbacks. There goes the board falling right there.
Right, exactly.
And
so
there's going to be a team. There's going to be a team that you hit a home run. Oh, sorry about that. Pirates game on. But there's a team that is just going to take some guy that you're like, why in the world would you do that?
Yeah,
and that's going to benefit everybody else. It's probably going to be the Raiders.
It might be.
They did that with Clelin Ferrell and Alex Leatherwood.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's
true. I'm excited, man. I feel like this draft this year is pretty unpredictable.
I do too, man. And I think that's what makes this draft so damn interesting, because you don't know who's going to go where.
No.
And then, and especially with the Steelers, like this isn't. Omar Khan is definitely hiding his cards a little bit more than Kevin Colbert did.
Oh, yeah. I think so too. And like they're usually not in a situation where they have like kind of almost 2 first-round picks.
That's true.
Either.
That's
so
true.
that makes it for interesting talk also. But
I mean, this is probably the first time that I can remember. I know it's the first. I think the last time the Steelers had a number 1 overall pick was with Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
And so was the number 1 overall pick. So I'm assuming that was probably the last time they had the number 1 overall pick in the second round. And so, going into this, ending draft night 1, going into, the second day, that's going to be interesting, man. The shows are going to be crazy with speculation on who the Steelers are going to pick.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Wait,
is. Dude, imagine if like Steelers are at 17 and like not saying that they're going to take them anyway or anything like that, but if Washington takes Porter right before the Steelers at 17, I feel like that would kind of maybe be a little again, not saying that the Steelers would take him anyway at 17, but it would kind of make for some fun speculation.
Man, if there's a cornerback taken at 16, don't pick corner.
Yeah.
The last time that happened was William Jackson.
We know who it was.
We got Artie Burns.
Yep. We know who it was, dude. We know who it was.
Yeah,
But I think that's why, like, I'm kind of okay if they take corner in the first round, just because, like, I know the skepticism that's there whenever they draft cornerbacks, but they never really take one or have taken one the first round other than Artie Burns in recent memory.
Yeah.
So at least that's kind of has it going for him.
Yeah, it's been the only one in the first round. I think Cam Sutton was a third rounder.
Yeah, he was a third
Quez
round pick.
Golston was a second round pick.
Second, Justin Lane was a third round pick. William Gay wasn't a first round pick.
No, Pierre, I don't think was drafted.
No. So they at least have that going for them in the sense of corners. Mike Hilton was undrafted. So
that, and I mean, I think Terrell Austin, being a former defensive backs coach, would really do wonders for whoever they select.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. And I think really just the thing that'd be a damper is if they picked a receiver at 17, which Mel Kiper came out with another mock draft today, and he had Zay Flowers going 17. I'm like, absolutely not. He's not going 17. He might not even go in the first round.
You know, I get it. I get it that, you know, you have a young quarterback. You want to give him as many weapons as you possibly can. But you know, look what happened last year. You know, the Steelers had Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth to throw to. And it felt like there was too many chefs in the kitchen in that situation. So adding another first round.
That's exactly it, dude. It just becomes so freaking crowded, and then you're going to have a problem again.
Now, unless the Steelers trade Deontay Johnson to the Bears for number 9.
That's a different story. That's different.
Now you're gonna need a receiver.
Then you are. But I'm on the train of keeping him at least for another year.
That would be freaking hilarious, though, man. Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson lining up for Chicago. Send Mitch Trubisky while we're at it.
Yeah, add him in the trade. Deontay will probably be pissed, though, because he ain't going to get the ball there.
Nah. So will Mitch, because Deontay won't put his feet in bounds or catch it often. It'll be a nightmare, man.
Yeah, put his fist down Mitch's throat like the locker room.
That's what I heard.
That's what was going around, but I don't know. I think they denied it, but yeah, sent Trubisky to Chicago. Steer Girl asks, are we going live for the draft? I'm not going to. Daniel, didn't you say you were going to do it live?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go live either probably right before they announce their pick so we can react to it, talk about it afterwards. And then I'm going to do the same thing on day 2. I'll probably go live twice. I doubt that I'm going to do the entire draft. But this preseason, I'm gonna try something different too. I'm gonna start broadcasting, or not broadcasting, but I'm gonna do living. I'm gonna do a games commentary, and so, I'm gonna be trying some new stuff with the channel, and especially this upcoming year. Also, don't forget, y'all, I give away 2 tickets to one game, a regular season game, every single year to a subscriber. As soon as the schedule comes out and we get an idea of what game I'm going to go to, because I'm a season ticket holder, I'll figure out which game that we're going to be giving away, and I'll be announcing that on my channel as well. Yeah.
So that's why you guys want to, as I'm pretty sure all you guys in the chat here are, but for anybody that's new here, that's not in the chat, that's why you want to subscribe to Daniel's channel. It's right there by his name as he does that. But yeah, Steeler Girl, Daniel will be going live on his channel. So if you're interested in that, tune into what he does there. But Daniel, feel good to call it a wrap here?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. That's episode 38, guys. That's mine and Daniel's mock draft. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Steelers do. I think it's very unpredictable for them this year in terms of them trading up. Could they trade back? Could they stay where they're at? And they have a luxury of the high-end draft picks capital that they have right now, which is something they don't always have. So, Steeler Girl, we appreciate tuning in. Absolutely. And we will see you next time whenever we do a show. Jared Devil, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for tuning in as always. Thank you for being here. Same with everybody in the chat as you guys are here. But yeah, I'm excited for this draft. Daniel's excited for it. I think really a lot of people are. It just could go a lot of different ways. So we'll see how it goes. But just a quick heads up, guys. We will not be doing. Let me see. Because I will not be here for the next week and a half or so. So let me see here. So there will be no show next week, guys. There will be no show next week. So the week after, the week going into the draft, Daniel and I will have another show. So probably that Tuesday or Saturday going to the draft, we will do that. The draft is April 27th, I believe. So we will have a show leading into that, especially if there's any type of news or anything that comes out relating to that. We will be talking about it. So that's when we will be live together here next. But anyway, that's going to be it for us, guys. And we appreciate your support as always. And it was a good show. So we'll see what happens to Steelers draft, but we will be back the week of the draft, guys, the week of the draft. So keep your notifications on YouTube. Check out with the community section on YouTube, just in case if we'll post like what day we're going live, et cetera, et cetera. So stay tuned to that, guys, but we will see you all the week of the draft, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you.
Peace.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
Well, I forgot to end the broadcast. That's my fault.